Gods and goddesses in training, welcome back to the channel. It's Uncle Makara back at it again. Today I have a bit of an ascension flu, okay? So a bit of a blocked nose still. However, I hope you guys can hear me and perceive this message today. It's a powerful one, man. I'm gonna basically answer a lot of Q&A. I got some questions on spirituality and common misconceptions, okay? So the number one thing is to understand is, are you worshiping these Hindu gods, okay? Now, first of all, I don't consider deities to be God, okay? God is working through the energies, these different fractalizations, right? So Orisas are not gods, Hindu deities are not gods, okay? But in this particular paradigm, you're sensing that they are a divine fractal of God itself, okay? Coming through as different gods, right? The same way we call ourselves gods in training. It's not like we're actually gods, right? However, we're remembering the spiritual gifts that we lost, our spiritual amnesia, okay? Secondly, crystals are just a bunch of rocks, man. You've got to know about frequencies, and you've got to know how connected we really are to nature, okay? If you've ever actually looked up anything about crystals, you understand that they actually hold a very strong vibrational power. From, take the example of moldavite, right? Like, that stuff will change your life. It will transform you. It will put you into like almost a psychic vacuum of this kind of vortex of growth, right? There's so much that I've seen, at least in my life, that has expanded from using the technologies in the right way. Witchcraft and spellcraft is bad, okay? They used to burn witches back in the day, right? You see, actual witchcraft is actually you turning into an animal, right? Let's make the discernment that voodoo is very different from witchcraft. And also, let's make the discernment that spell work or witchcraft is bad, necessarily, right? There's white witches and so forth. But start to understand, you're placing a spell every time you speak. That's why it's called spelling. With your focus, purpose, intention, and you charging it with your action or energy, that thing is actually forming and manifesting. So manifesting is a form of magic, okay? It's a form of divination. It is a form of you getting closer towards your truth and you merging with that reality. Think about this, okay? Someone was asking me recently, what is Samadhi, okay? If you ever heard that word before. To know what Samadhi is, you got to know what Ekagra is. And that is that single pointedness or that focus, right? You know when you have such a one-track mind that everything kind of vortexes into it? Have you ever experienced this? So my own understanding is that Samadhi is the natural way that things should be. It is pure synchronicity. It is the interconnectedness with all. It is a collective sense of being. It is the awareness that already pervades. So it's more like, I don't see Samadhi more so like I'm trying to contain this area, this environment, this world in my own essence or flavor. I am dissolving my ego and attachments and ideas, and I'm just remaining pure, whole, uncarved, unconditioned, primal, right? Primal Sutra. That prima materia, that pure divine spark and essence, I'm getting towards that. That pure crystallization, I'm getting towards that, okay? Now, the Buddhists may see it as a doorway to enlightenment, and some other cultures might see it as a part of the yogic process, or somebody else might call it, by the grace of God or like Holy Spirit. It's like it fractalizes. All of these teachings, they fractalize. You guys get that? So we are all divine fractals. Understand this. Everything is connected through this kind of fractal nature of things, right? This underlying reality. If some of you have experimented with psychedelics and so forth, you might have seen a lot of fractals, okay? That's just reminding you of that too. You're kind of just peering through the edge of that and understanding that, yeah, man, we're all connected. It's all love. It's all bliss. Like, you have never really had a great day, right? Your soul deserves to be happy because happiness is that natural blueprint. Now, I didn't used to believe this, but I had to go through a lot of spiritual refinement to actually understand this and get towards this process. And that's why flow state led me towards these understandings, okay? If it wasn't for me studying a state of peak performance, which is all about, getting better, getting to the next goal and so forth, but then I understood it's more about, as I'm doing the thing, my ego dissolves. I am not there anymore, right? There's something else flowing through me. And that's the same thing that I do in channeling too. So if you're interested in learning about this peak performance shamanism, you definitely got to join our mystery school, okay? And if you can't afford it, talk to us. We have scholarships available for really committed people, as well as we are trading services. So if you can make reels for us, if you can make content for us, just let us know, and we'll create a protocol for you where you get the teachings. And you also get to help us along the way. So it's more like an internship or a job, right? Always looking for new people and new ways to promote this message, because it's a very powerful message. You're coming back to your source energy, right? But yeah, that's how I would see Samadhi. It's integration, right? It is the whole thing of psychology, self-actualization, all that stuff. It's all integration. It's all just bringing the scattered or the separate back towards wholeness. So it's holistic healing. So anything you do to holistically heal will remind your soul your true blueprint, your natural blueprint, which fasting gets you towards. Anything where you alter your state of consciousness, you'll start to notice differences happening, right? After you purge something out, like something really toxic in your system, you have food poisoning. Do you know how that feeling of like, I'm cleansed, like, whoa, like I just let go of something huge, right? So today I got a random ascension flu, but then Ryan G told me what I told him yesterday about Chief Deno telling him to drink hot water, lime, honey, whatever, right? It was a concoction. And I took it today, and then I started myself to just like, oh man, I really need to go to the bathroom. And then I let go of a lot, right? And it was like almost an emotion. That's a bit TMI, I know, like my bathroom habits, whatever. You don't need to know about that shit, right? It was like I let go of a lot, right? You guys know that feeling of like letting go of something, and it's like a new chapter is emerging, right? A new wave is in the matrix now, right? Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain, purple rain. So a few days ago I helped Ryan G channel Opus, the solar bull. And then at the end of that, it's like there was a lot of like random stuff coming out that I was just perceiving the energy of the collective, what TXL was saying, Mathis was saying, and so forth. And I ended up typing in like these people's names into gematria. And gematria is basically like a Hebrew, it's like a Jewish calculator, I think. It uses a lot of powerful ways and technologies that basically help you connect letters to numbers. And so you always get a number equivalent based on words that you put into gematria, right? You can try it with your name and tell me that isn't revealing aspects of this matrix to you. Tell me that that's not revealing different connections that you may have had in your mind, or what the matrix is feeding you. You could look at it like that, right? Gematria, gematrix.org, that's the one we use. It's been very helpful. And we've also had to use it for various spiritual downloads and information, right? So someone was asking me about this the other day, like, how do you know? Like, how can you be sure or whatever? Like, I trust my own intuition more than, let's just say, my logical mind, okay? And I do have a very sharp logic, and I can formulate logic. However, in order for me to really get these spiritual teachings, I have to let that go. I had to sacrifice that part of my mind in order for me to be where I'm at and be a spiritual teacher with a movement like this. I've had to have a very strong right brain, right? A strong level of creativity, which I've had ever since I was a young child. I was hyper creative, right? Like 2 years old, I was hyper creative. Okay? So I wasn't made for this world or society. That's what I felt. It wasn't until later I started to realize that, some issues that my mother had when I was in her stomach had affected me and affected my consciousness. And I did a lot of spiritual work to also understand and reveal a lot of this information. I think we all feel hurt, right, by our past in some way, right? However, I think it's so important where you can find a new perspective towards that, right? Because if you always latch onto that identity, have you guys ever heard of the Dilts model? It's an NLP model by Robert Dilts. He brings it up quite a lot. Or Tony Robbins has taught about it and so forth. But one thing I think Tony is missing is that spiritual element. Like if someone can bring that through with the values, with the polarity work, with everything else that he does, really well, and understand really, really well, okay? And you really start to understand that there is a superpower to this. It is like learning a skill or a skill set. We call it pleasure alchemy. Now we at Primal Sutra, we call it pleasure alchemy. And that's something we've been really diving into, and that's something we've been really diving into. It's such a powerful understanding that we can take something and make it powerful, right? Make it into its most advanced form, or even let it go, find a way to let go of the image, right? So it's very powerful. Like, let's say, I'll give you an example of pleasure alchemy right now. Let's say that you have an image that this teacher's making fun of you in class in like 3rd grade or something, right? She made some comment and it's stuck in your mind. Now you replay that scene again, you rewind it, and you fast forward through it, and then you rewind it, and then you play it again. And then you keep changing the scenes, right? You keep changing the scenes of it. Now you're desensitizing yourself to the image, right? Now you're symbolically making that image into a symbol. Now you're converting that image into a symbol in your mind. So let's say it reminds you of the symbol of maybe an apple, all right? A lot of students gift teachers with apples. That's kind of been a thing. So let's say you hold the image of the apple in your mind, and now you might notice it's like a rotten apple. So using your own consciousness, your ekagra, your single-pointedness, almost like a laser pointer in your mind, you are editing the image with all of your energy, all of your intention, all of your purity. You are changing, like Photoshop, okay, or some kind of a deep fake or whatever. You are editing in your conscious. You are editing in your subconscious. You are editing the image, which is changing the supra-conscious or the super consciousness. So now you might imagine that there's a bite out of the apple, and that apple is transforming into an Apple logo, and then that is going into your iPad. And then you're opening the iPad, and then you're going through the files, and you're deleting files from the iPad. Now you're changing it. You see, now you have power over this image. But it started off with that rotten apple. And you might have gone the Snow White route and imagined a witch, and then, defeating the witch. But whatever, you have to allow your imagination to heal you. This is the message that's coming through today. This is the download. You've got to allow your imagination to come through and heal you. because you hold that choice, that freedom, that reservoir, that creativity that's within you and only you. And it is only through your eyes, your perception, you are giving it that meaning. You are writing that story of what it means to you. But what if I told you, find different ways, more positive ways to respond to life? It's not easy. Nobody said it was easy, but that's why, as difficult as it is, it allows us to show up to it and meet it. As uncomfortable as it is, it's authentic, it's vulnerable, it's pure. It's what we already know. It's what we already are. He knows my heart. He knows my mind. No more hiding. No more seeking. I'm already here. For a moment, I felt a little bit of that Samadhi essence. Then my ego came back in, thinking, oh, I'm on camera, blah, 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 there's noises outside. But maybe for a few milliseconds, I got a glimpse of that. Now, the real art form is when the meditator and the meditation merges together. They are not separate, but they are one. The Prakriti and the Purush are one. The thinker and the thought are one. Okay? That's the understanding of Samadhi. It's a merging back to wholeness. It's this understanding of dissolving away. And from the space, it's not a fear, it's not a feeling of emptiness that, well, what do I do now? It's everything's empty, then what's the point anyway? No, it's not going down that existential rabbit hole. But it's a sense of liberation where you're like, I'm free. I'm finally free. I'm not shackled by my mind anymore. Because now my mind is a blank canvas and I have powerful discernment when there's evil. Inside, I understand that that blank canvas is being etched on. You see? When I notice my blank canvas being etched on by other beings or other energies or other people's, donations towards it, they're like, oh, but, you should add this in your book. Oh, let me bribe you with 500, spiritual dollars or whatever. Okay. No. I'm not going to let you add onto my canvas. You can influence me, you can inspire me, of course. But again, it's coming through from this pure space. If God wants me to paint, I will paint, by all means. It's only that voice in the head that says, you can't do that, you can't say that. What's wrong with you, right? That self-defeating kind of critical voice is oftentimes the voice of our parents. Think about this. It's that nagging voice in the background of what will they think of us. It is that fear-based mentality, right? But what if you could perceive everything from the frame of love, okay? If you were wearing love goggles and you were listening to Love FM and you were eating love food and you were experiencing through the love, through that flow state, through that joie de vivre, as you'd call it in French, right? The zest or enthusiasm, enthusiasmos, right? Being possessed by a God. That's what it is. You've got to find that essence of just, I'm ready. Okay? I've always been ready because I was born ready. Okay, this is what I've been priming myself for, is to lean into my edges, to refine my character, self-knowledge, self-study, self-discipline, self-surrender. That's Samadhi, okay? So Once you get that, once you start to perceive that through your waking life, now you can put it into action. How can you do this? Like I said, introduce these little practices throughout your day. Don't make them so, routine. I have to do it by this time. If I don't, then XYZ will happen, right? You're setting the coordinates wrong because you're saying that I will punish myself if I don't do it. And that's not the way that you become a flow state Jedi or priestess. You got to understand that you would have done it regardless. Like, if you wanted a relationship, you would be in one right now. You get what I mean? Like, and you already know, like, there's certain things in the way that you perceive things or the way you act or the way you move. All of that is bringing you clearer into a cleaner. Someone else was asking me, what was the question around? Oh yeah, Deity Rykov, right? Deity Rykov. So we have this concept of Primal Sutra. Alexander Rykov was a very powerful Russian hypnotist, and he came up with this technique, okay, where he could take someone else's head and put it over his head like a mask or something. In our Primal Sutra meditation, we have very physical anchors, and I'm not going to get into too many details towards it, but it is basically like Deity Rykov, okay? So where you're merging with that God form or that goddess form, okay? And what that will do essentially is it'll give you like spiritual gifts or siddhis, okay? The way that I would describe it is like all of your elements are being amped up to its most optimal level. So your fire, your astral fire here, your mental world, right? Your air energy, right? If you're overburdened with air energy, too much air energy, then we can also doing the meditation will also kind of balance it and bring it down. So it's an amplifier, but it's also a container, let's just say, okay? So it works in both ways. It's kind of like an energy tune-up type of meditation that I'm looking at. But having very physical, tangible things through your meditation, ritual objects. I've got this from Vajrayana Buddhism, right? The whole idea of deity yoga, guru yoga, which my father teaches, of course. And, they also hold a vajra, right? So there is this kind of ritualistic aspect of this. As you're chanting, you have this, these beads and so forth. So there's something very, like a prop that an actor uses, right, is so important. Having the prop is essential for that actor to tap into that role, remember. So for your role as the mystic mage and magician, you got to have these little trinkets that allow you to do what you as a mystic needs to do, okay? Don't try to copy everybody else, okay? Don't be like, oh yeah, Sheila has a crystal correction and she recommended that, she's the authority, on YouTube. And she's bought like 1,700 crystals, and so I've got to get them. What? Give me a break, okay? Give me a break. Your higher self is laughing at that, Don't keep consuming spiritual content. Access spirituality, okay? Yes, their spiritual content is amazing, amazing, okay? And I love just reading and learning and consuming stuff. But again, it's like when the downloads come through and you're feeling that spidey sense, like, oh man, I feel something's about to happen. Let's go. Uh-oh. Here we go. Timeline shift. It's another one. Oh, it's showing up. That makes life exciting, actually. I don't know for you, but it makes my life feel like some kind of a spiritual adventure, like some kind of scavenger hunt. Like I'm there to live my life, and when I go out and socialize or when I go out, to interact with the outside world, that's my reward, right? That's my energy exchange. That's the universe giving me the gifts back and towards my life because I've done all the right things beforehand. And that's one of the IMC boot camps inspired this mindset within me. And so I've been adopting that in my sense of living in life right now, which is that I am the reward right now, right? I'm just seeking my reward. Do you have $1 million? Do you have $1 million? Right? That was the essence, But I'm not seeking to get something. No, it's like I deserve it, and so I'm resonating that deservedness, you see? I'm resonating at that deserved level of consciousness. I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, you know? And of course, the source helps me tap into the force. There's no Jedi or Sith, only force. No remorse. I tap that as like it's Morse. Okay? That was great. Being super silly. But you guys know what I mean, right? This is such a powerful way of thinking and being and feeling. So get rid of these spiritual misconceptions, okay? I have to do it exactly like this or exactly like that. Do I need tarot decks? Okay? Maybe your specific deity wants you to get a very specific deck of cards for divination that's not tarot. Maybe they want you to like play poker or something. You know, it's like, and this is why we need clarity on the spiritual path. And if you do not have the clarity yourself, go to somebody who knows. Okay? Go to somebody who knows. And don't take it from me, take it from the people we've helped. We recently had another sign up for our Adept program. Shout out John. Welcome, brother. I hope you enjoy this new chapter, this new journey with us. And, you know, it's so powerful because we understand everybody has value, okay? But I want to speak into the God in that person first in order for me to even connect with them, you see? I have to see you at your best light in order for me to connect with you. You see? I'm not going to try to push you there. You know what I mean? I'm not going to try to push you up the hill. But you do got to catch up. Okay? If you're feeling like, oh, he's ahead of me. Yeah, I'm a leader. Someone was asking me what are hip chakras. So hip chakras are not the main 7 body chakras, but they're more so energetic chakras. So they happen sometimes, it's separate from, you know, the sacral, but it's connected through that whole area. But it's basically your sides, if you think about it, right? Your lower sides, the energy coming through there. Now, a lot of people with blocked hip chakras, they can't really express themselves through rhythm or dancing, or they can't really access that fluidity. You get what I mean? There's always like a sense of like closing of that or issues around that. But once you really embrace and give yourself, well, again, the blood flow around the hips, but also Reiki, you know, we of course shared that with our adepts. However, it's very important, you know, these things are very important. So, you know, if you are scattered right now, just reach out, you know, just reach out. I'll give you much more clarity on it. But right now for these videos, you know, kind of purely answering what's coming through. Okay. But yeah, I think this video was helpful. Have an incredible day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. Let's get it. Upward spiral gang.